My impression of the where am I looking?
Straight.
Okay. My impression of the Playback Theater was that it was phenomenal. The kids really had a really good time. I don't want to say any of that. I said really twice.
It's
Start
really
over.
okay. We're going to just keep going on.
My impression of the Playback Theater was that it was really interesting to watch a group of strangers come into a community and really allowed the students to become comfortable almost immediately. And the children were so comfortable that they expressed stories and experiences that we had never heard before. I thought that you'd have to build a relationship with a child for a year or a couple of years to get the magnificent outcome that we got by the end of about 2 hours. So I thought it was a really good program.
So as a principal, and maybe you can say a little bit about the challenge you might have as a principal to get, why is that building relationship with your students so vital, do you think, to their learning as a principal?
I think it's important for children to understand that everyone has a different personality, that everyone has different beliefs, different things that they find important to them, and until they have exchanges with other people, they don't start to understand how to interact until that exchange happens. So I definitely believe that the program did a good job of allowing children to voice their issues, concerns, beliefs, things that hurt them, and express how they want to be treated. Children have a voice too. And I think that at that particular session, I learned that children don't always get to express themselves in a sincere manner. They tend to close themselves off or silence themselves, and I felt that the Playback Theater really gave them a voice. For a small, short moment in time, they had a voice that could be heard and feelings that were taken into account.
So I know you've been interested in bringing this, and are interested in bringing this to children and adults. What do you think could be helpful to adults or people in a school system?
I definitely think it's the same experience. For me, as an adult, watching my students go through the experience was enlightening. And I think that as adults, as much as we talk and we have this assumed freedom to express ourselves and we have control over our emotions, I think that the Playback Theater definitely hits a different chord. And I think it's important for adults to have that interaction because we make a lot of assumptions when dealing with other adults. And through those assumptions, we build these stories around individuals that may not necessarily be true. And so I think it's imperative, especially when building a team of adults, that they too realize that you're not too old to keep in mind that the person you're looking at is coming to you, is presenting experiences in a life before this day and time that you're seeing them. Their experiences that they have, their things that hurt them. And in order to be the best teammate, it's good to keep those things in mind. You don't necessarily have to know them in depth, but just to be cognizant of the fact that other factors exist. And entering a friendship, relationship, professional environment, these things are crucial to not having huge issues arise later on.
So if there was one reason you'd say for people, educators, to do a playback program, what would you say, just considering some of the challenges, and what's the one reason you think would be really important?
I think it's the starting point. I think it's the elephant in the room. I think it's the one thing that as adults we don't talk about. And I think that it's also the thing that as children you don't express because you don't want to be deemed as a wimp or someone who's weak. And as adults, it's funny because we don't express those things about ourselves for the same reasons. So I think being in this field, it's important to realize that those stories or experiences definitely have a space, they have a place within education, and in order to be productive and be good teammates and classmates, understanding and really just being human. You're not the only one that exists in this world, and we're trying to teach children compassion. I think that's definitely the first step, because a lot of us as adults can learn a thing or two about expressing compassion and consideration to another person's experiences, feelings, or beliefs.
Thank you so much.
Got a little ring in there.